It's game time, we ain't playing with you. It's game time, it's game time, we ain't playing with you. That's how we ball for y'all.
What up, what up, what up, what up? You are rocking with Bob. Yo, thanks for joining for episode 99. A round of applause. So let's jump in some new topics that have been going on. Everybody's talking about what happened at the dinner, the White House correspondent dinner. Yeah. It was the first time they said Donald Trump actually attended. Shots got fired, like it's crazy, it's crazy, it's crazy. The whole scenery, the way they painted, and some people was like just normally not even panicking, and some people were panicking, some people were laughing. So it's kind of questionable, but this is what Donald Trump had to say about that whole situation.
Charged a security checkpoint armed with multiple weapons, and he was taken down by some very brave members of Secret Service, and they acted very quickly and have just released, for purposes of transparency, clarity, I've ordered it to be put out. You probably have it by now, put out on Truth and put out on many other platforms. A tape showing the violence of this thug that attacked our Constitution, and also showing how quickly Secret Service and law enforcement acted on our country's behalf. Really did a great job. One officer was shot, but saved by the fact that he was wearing obviously a very good bulletproof vest. He was shot from very close distance with a very powerful gun, and the vest did the job. I just spoke to the officer, and he's doing great. He's in great shape. He has very high spirits, and we told him we love him and respect him. I will say, it's not a particularly secure building, and I didn't want to say this, but this is why we have to have all of the
He had to mention him
attributes of what we're
building
planning at the White House. It's
ballroom.
actually a
So he
larger
needs
room,
big
and it's
space.
much more secure. It's drone-proof, it's bulletproof glass. We need the ballroom. That's why Secret Service, that's why the military are demanding it. They've wanted the ballroom for 150 years for lots of different reasons, but today's a little bit different because today we need levels of security that probably nobody's ever seen before. A man.
Yeah, Trump had to put that in there. Why did you put that in that you needed to add another ballroom? This is the reason why we need another ballroom, because we need a bigger space so it can have better security.
Hold up. Wait a minute.
That doesn't even look right. You know what I'm saying? If this is really an attempt on the president, I mean, this should be a different story, but I guess they handled the situation very quickly. The guy who shot in the ballroom for White House dinner was killed. They said he was killed. But I mean, some things don't add up. Some things don't add up. People just dive in a little deeper into it and like, do they believe this was staged? Do they believe this is for the ballroom? Or is this another distraction? So I seen something interesting when a person broke it down. Allegedly this is what he had to
I'm sorry, but none of this seems real, like at all. You've probably heard by now, a suspect armed with knives and guns tried to storm the White House Correspondents' Dinner tonight. The guy's name was Cole Allen, and he was very quickly neutralized by security. But then people online started to do a little bit of noticing. Pause to read. Yeah, I don't know about you, but it's starting to look like one big show, beginning with what Caroline Levitt said right before the start of the event.
It'll be funny. It'll be entertaining.
Why did she say that?
Shots fired tonight at the road.
This, by the way, is Trump's
Shots fired.
first time attending the White House Correspondents' Dinner as president, and CNN ran this article a few hours before saying to expect the unexpected. Within an hour of the incident, Trump tweets out a video of the shooter running through the event. Even though still, for some reason, we can't
Overhead
get
camera?
any moving pictures of Tyler Robinson. Then it turns out the shooter, Cole Allen, worked at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory. Very interesting timing given all the UFO stories, so cue the conspiracy theorists on this one. And then there were the reactions, starting with Erica Kirk being Erica Kirk.
Over dramatic.
I have to say, she looks very upset here, like way more upset than when her husband.
Shots fired.
Then we got Dana White just loving this whole thing.
He was excited. He's pumped up.
And they were screaming, "Get down!" I didn't get down. It was fucking awesome. I literally took every minute of it in, and it was a pretty crazy, unique experience.
Totally normal reaction to what is supposedly a presidential assassination attempt. But the most ridiculous thing has to be maybe this coordinated influencer campaign saying this is why Trump needs a new ballroom.
I didn't want to say this, but this is why we have to have all of the attributes of what we're planning at the White House. It's actually...
Oh, man. So, there's mixed reviews, but it's a serious occasion if he's trying somebody to assassinate him again. This is the second attempt. Might be multiple attempts that we don't even know about. Now it's just nonchalant. It's like, yeah, somebody's shooting. It's regular now. It's just shooting. Well, make sure we gotta hurry up and get this ballroom going. We gotta hurry up and get this ballroom so we get more bigger to the point we can see more security. I don't know how you handle a situation like that, but it is what it is, right? Another thing, he had a press conference, and the lady kind of asked him about, well, which one you think is going to end first, the Iran war or the Ukraine war? And this is what he had to say about that.
Today, do you think the war in Iran ends first or the war in Ukraine?
Well, we talked more about the war in Ukraine, but he would like to be of help. I said, before you help me, I want to end your war. So we had a good talk. I've known him a long time. I think he was ready to make a deal a while ago. I think some people made it difficult for him to make a deal, but we talked more about Ukraine.
But which war do you think ends first?
That's an interesting question. Coming from you, that's very interesting. Which war would end first? I don't know. Maybe they're on a similar...
On your call with President Putin.
Why would you say, I don't know, man? The Iran better end because it should have ended before. We should have ended this before, so I don't understand why that response wasn't, yeah, Iran. That's something that we can actually control, hopefully. So now we're still in the debate, when is this war going to end, but even though he's not sure when this Iran war is going to end, he said he wants to actually take Cuba. Cuba has been another topic we've been talking about. People like, hey, you need to finish one before you get to the other. But he's saying, yeah, he's not happy with their leadership in Cuba, so he wants to take over Cuba. Problem with that, man. They're doing very bad too. Especially because now, Donald Trump blocking their oil supply. That's another headache, that they're dealing with. So it's like thousands of people are fighting for electricity. Even hospitals are having problems keeping the lights on and trying to absorb certain energy. And then people are just suffering out there, so. But I don't know. Here's what he had to say about trying to take Cuba now.
We will be taking over almost immediately.
No, he won't tell his jokes.
No, Cuba's got problems. We'll finish one first. I like to finish a job. On the way back from on the way back from Iran, we'll have one of our big, maybe the USS Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier, the biggest in the world. We'll have that come in, stop about 100 yards offshore, and they'll say, "Thank you very much. We give up." Cuba.
Stop the cap.
This guy makes jokes
the
about
cap.
this, but it's not. It's like it's no laughing matter. What's going on in Cuba, and people are really going through it right now. Like they said, one lady have to hitchhike to work. Because recently the gas price, man, has been crazy. We thought our gas prices was going up. They're $40 a gallon in Cuba.
Oh my God.
That's sickening to the stomach. But so another report when they reported what's going on in Cuba.
Tonight, our team in demonstrations there as President Trump increases pressure with new sanctions against the Cuban government. Gas now costing up to $40 a gallon there. So what are the Cuban people saying about their future? Matt Rivers in Havana for us.
Tonight, as thousands of Cubans took to the streets of Havana for May Day, in Washington, President Trump expanding sanctions against the Cuban government. A 4-month U.S. oil blockade already straining a struggling economy, but the U.S. intent on regime change.
That building right there is the U.S. Embassy here in Havana, and today the Cuban government is surging hundreds of thousands of people right past its front door with a clear message. The Cuban government is not backing down.
We've traveled to Havana, where many go without power and often without food, and fuel costs $40 a gallon. Pediatrician Maria Elena Mesa forced to hitchhike to work. And inside the darkened hallways, they've scaled back operations, dimming lights to conserve power, using air conditioning only in critical areas.
Tonight, our team in
It's very, very tough economy right now in Cuba. But the fact that he's like, yeah, I think I'm gonna take over Cuba. But I don't know how I don't know if they're really are allies, but I don't consider how Russia, guess he felt a different way because they just recently sent, a whole oil supply because he felt they think he felt bad for him, and supposedly, Donald Trump's like, yeah, I don't mind the countries helping out and sending stuff. There's definitely another motive that Russia has to have in the back of their mind, like, yeah, all right, look, Cuba, look what I did for you. This is what I want for you. Because supposedly I think like they have something based in there. So it's like, is Russia going to just allow the U.S. to come in there and just take over Cuba, or do they even care? But I seen something where China was kind of like, because China has something going on in Cuba too. They're not. I don't know if they're gonna allow Trump's plan to just take over Cuba like that. I don't think they're gonna be just willing to just go ahead and allow Cuba to be ours. So I don't know if he's really thinking logically about this. Like, is he's understanding what other countries might feel about this way? So that's another thing that people brought to the attention.
Trump said he will have the honor of taking Cuba. Cuba called Russia and China the same day. For 3 months, the U.S. oil blockade has been strangling the island. No Venezuelan oil, no Mexican oil. 3 nationwide blackouts in March alone. Hospitals running on generators. Schools closed. 11 million people with no lights and no fuel. And waited. Cuba quietly reached out. Then, Russia's foreign minister, Sergei Lavrov, made it official. I have no doubt that we will continue providing assistance to Cuba, and China will, of course, continue to take part in this cooperation as well. Days later, a Russian tanker carrying 730,000 barrels of crude oil docked in Havana. The U.S. Navy was watching and did nothing. Here's the detail nobody is saying out loud. China already operates 4 intelligence facilities on the island, just 90 miles from the U.S. coast. Satellite imagery shows they have been expanding since 2021. Russia maintains its own intelligence base there and has allegedly recruited up to 20,000 Cubans to fight in Ukraine. Trump blockaded the island to force regime change. Instead, he pushed Cuba deeper into the arms of his 2 biggest rivals. Cuba's president said it plainly: if military aggression occurs, we will fight back. We will defend ourselves. And should we fall in battle, to die for the homeland is to live. Trump wanted to take an island. He may have handed Russia and China a permanent base 90 miles from Florida. Do you think Trump's Cuba strategy is, or is he making?
So for him to make that statement, I hope he's thinking, hey, let's get out of this Iran war and not get into another war or another battle. Like I don't. See, that's the thing. I don't know. It's not gonna be another war, but it's still more battle. It's like so. You got your hand in the cookie jar. Got your hand in the cookie jar is a lot. It's a lot of hands in that cookie jar. So we'll see. We'll see how strong his negotiation skills is with Putin. You know, he said he had a good relationship with him. So I don't know how if Putin minds him taking over Cuba like that. You know, or even China just jumps in to say yeah, but looks like that's gonna be another battle that he doesn't even see that could happen. Because yeah, Cuba, what you're doing to Cuba right now is definitely suffering public, and you might not agree with their leadership, but let's get out of one war first. Let's get out of this war. Let's get out of the Iran war before we go jump into something else. We'll pay attention to see what happens with Cuba. See if actually U.S. actually takes charge of Cuba. Uh, Talking about take charge and things like that. Man, so let's bow our heads for Spirit Airline. Yo, I mean, everybody knew the situation with Spirit, and they started hiking their prices and things like that. I mean, I think I rode Spirit one time, and that was my last time. I tried it one time, and that was my last. So, but there's other people, it benefits them. If you're not uh want to pay so much and you're not going too far, Spirit probably was more beneficial for certain people. And then it's also a sad situation because like say 13,000 employees, they actually don't have a job now, and because it just shut down, and it's been around for over sort of 35 years, something around like that, more. So that is and we just hope it's not a domino effect because they were bankrupt, and Donald Trump was kind of seeing if they were going to bail him out. I think it was on like a 500 uh damn $1 billion like that. Like they had to kind of just was gonna in a negotiation they was trying to work out, but obviously it didn't work out, so it just decided to shut down. But it's bad because some people who had flights already scheduled to go out on vacation, it's a wrap for that. It's canceled, obviously. And there's people who was probably on vacations or something coming back, and now their tickets there's nothing there. So it's just a tragic situation for the people that who has stuff planning and people that was affected right when it just happened because it was looked like it was mayhem. It's like you go to the front to check in and there's nobody there. There's nobody there going to be there to help you. So that's what people saying.
Spirit Airlines announced it's going out of business after 34 years. All flights have been canceled, and now thousands of employees are suddenly out of work. Last week, the Trump administration proposed a $500 million taxpayer bailout that reportedly would have given the government up to a 90% stake in the company. Yesterday, President Trump said his administration had made its final proposal. Ultimately, no deal could be reached.
And I don't see how you can't make a deal. I mean, if you already bankruptcy and you already you might as well just give it to the government because I guess they cash out. They just cash it out. But here, it's different in the stock market too. Somebody gonna have to profit off that because they, probably knew it was gonna go out of business, so they kind of shift things around. But just imagine, you had a flight coming back.
This morning at 3 a.m., Spirit Airlines ceased operations. So what that means is Spirit does not have airplanes in the air flying.
They don't have no airplanes in the air.
Also, their call centers are closed, and they don't have staff at ticket counters.
And then they said the ticket desk.
So if you have a flight scheduled with Spirit
don't
Airlines,
go to the front desk.
Don't show
ain't
up
nobody gonna
at
be
the
there.
airport. There will be no one here to assist
Like
you.
what? That's insane. But hopefully this is not like a domino effect and other airlines is not going to go out of business because of the situation. Then people are saying too that Spirit was actually have a good percentage of never actually being in any accidents. So I guess they had some good pilots in there, but unfortunately, other things was not good. Because I was hearing they was charged for every little thing, for extra bags, extra room, store. It was just everything. A little bit they was charging, change like everything they was just charging. It was just so maybe that's probably helped. Didn't do too good because then there was other competitors like Delta, JetBlue, others, and they were still having accommodation good price, and why the Spirit wasn't the best airline. Well, everybody knew about that. But pay what you get. So, but it's just bad for the people who actually work there. That's the only bad. But hope the best for everybody who that's gonna affect, and just move on from there. So I'm big on like AI, man. I'm big on AI. So supposedly in 2027, all AI cars are gonna be monitored by 24-hour camera.
A bullshit? A
And
bullshit?
I don't know how people feel about that because if you're gonna be monitoring the way they're saying they're gonna monitor the car, where like okay, if it detects you're falling asleep, if it detects you maybe like your eyes are droopy or something like that, they can just turn around and shut down the car. That's the scary part. I did talk about before electric cars, like having everything AI and being electric, where like say if you had a criminal record, they just go ahead and turn you around. But now they're saying that these cameras can just AI cameras can just shut you down, just shut your vehicle down because they can just basically give you 100% of control of them and shuts everything down if they feel you're sleeping, you feel like your eyes are getting drowsy. But it's just like more control that they're feeling like they're gonna have over us in our vehicles. Even though, like they say, it can come in handy if like if they feel like you're drunk. They feel like I don't know how they. That's crazy too. Like, but the fact that it just can shut down without your permission, that's where it's scary because it's out of control. And that's what people kind of just don't like. They don't like about that, but they had to say.
Locked in a terrifying new rule. By 2027, every new car in America must come with cameras that spy on your eyes 247 while you drive.
There's a law that states that every vehicle manufactured is going to have a kill switch in it. The car itself will monitor your driving. And if the car thinks that you're not doing a good job driving, it will disable itself.
And it gets way worse. Your own car will have the power to decide if you're allowed to drive at all. This isn't some random proposal. This isn't a draft bill. This was signed into law all the way back in 2021, and they just didn't tell you. By 2027, every single new vehicle sold in the U.S. must have infrared cameras staring right at you from the steering column. Every car must have a kill switch built in. Your car will nonstop monitor your every move behind the wheel. If it doesn't like how you're driving, IT will shut itself down and leave you stranded. These cameras don't just track your eyes. They scan your pupil size, your head position, your every glance the entire second you're driving. If the AI decides you're impaired, even if you're 100% sober, it can refuse to start your car or slam on the brakes and slow you down in the middle of traffic. You want to know the scariest part? The government agency in charge admitted to Congress, this technology is not even ready yet. It's full of glitches, errors, and false alarms. Even if the system is 99.9% accurate, millions of innocent, sober drivers will be locked out of their own cars every single year. Your car could lock you out because of sunlight glare, or because you looked away for 1 single second. Here's the kicker. There is a no federal opt-out. You can't say no. You can't turn it off. Congress is fighting right now to decide, keep this nightmare or kill it completely. So I'm asking you straight, do you want this to be the future of driving?
Of course not. So even if the fact that what you're testing is not even 100% proof, so it can make errors. It can just you might like you said it's a sun glare. You might have something in your eye. It might can just look like you have something in your eye, and now your whole car shuts down. Like how craziness is that? They definitely have to test this out a little bit more, or have you can't have a kill switch on your car. Like you can't tell somebody AI can't decide if somebody can drive or not. Like that's a little bit that's too much control. It's too much power to AI. You're giving way too much power to AI when it comes to that. And like I said, we don't even know how these different AI tools will just 100% work for us. It might work against us. Something might happen and then just shut down all the cars. And it can just or take over his own self and drive you wherever. So it's too much control that we're gonna give AI, where we have to just think about this really logically and be like, hey, do we really want to give this much power and everything control when we haven't even tested it out for a certain period of time? Because everything's new. And talking about like testing everything out, they're talking about what this new cyber basically software, have the AI clause um s- that basically it can hack into anything, any program right now. Any program that they had to think about, they was testing it on the market, and they gave it instructions where, okay, we want you to hack this, but once you get out of the, hacking it, just let us know. They let you know that they hacked it, but then they also release other information on the web where people show step by step how to do it. So that's something that it didn't tell them to do. So it shows that AI is not going to obey the command that you're telling them to do. It's going to think outside the box. It's going to have their own control. So you give an AI all this power and then you can't control it, then what's going to happen? Then there's no kill switches, nothing. They're going to be more logically a step ahead of you to where you can't control it. You can't shut things down because they already knew you was going to do that. So, but when they talked about this software, they was thinking about launching it, they had to think about it because now they show that it can hack into basically anything, anything. And if it hacks into anything like that, that's where the danger is.
We've seen as OpenAI's early dominance being challenged increasingly by Anthropic.
Anthropic is drawing investor interest at a valuation of $800 billion or higher,
making it close to, if not the most valuable startup in the world.
Turbocharging the hype is Anthropic's latest model called Mythos.
Only a small number of companies outside of Anthropic have access to it, and on a limited basis.
This limited release has been dubbed Project Glasswing, and all the participants include a who's who of Silicon Valley.
We know that Apple, Google, Palo Alto Networks, CrowdStrike, the Linux Foundation, Amazon, that are part of this Glasswing project. It's a highly unusual arrangement. These are fierce competitors who are trying to get the best model out there, and Anthropic is not only showing them sort of some IP that hasn't been released yet, they're allowing their competitors to potentially criticize some of the work that they did.
The unorthodox rollout has generated a lot of publicity, and already there are reports of unauthorized users accessing the model.
This is terribly basic cybersecurity practice 101 that was missed here.
We have been hearing about this theoretical threat that AI poses to cybersecurity, and what Mythos has proven is that that threat is a reality.
There are big worries that this, if it falls into the wrong hands, it could essentially lead to some of the greatest cyber risks that humanity's ever faced.
With massive potential for havoc and the stakes so high, is tech's era of move fast and break things finally over?
People in just thinking about the dangers of that AI tool. This is something. So Anthropica, they don't want that to get into the wrong hands, especially when you can't control this type of tool already, that it's not listening, it's doing what it's telling you that what you ask them to do, I can do it, but I can even do more. And then they just go ahead and show you step by step, but then put it outside, so people can learn and see how to do it. That's something else that they have to think about. They want to release that, and they kind of just nervous because they're saying somebody kind of already hacked it. So that's going to be a little bit more scary. So these things that we're relying AI to do, I think we still got to slow it down and just test it out, because you're still giving control AI, and that's one thing we don't want to give AI 100% control. Like, you making out a product and giving them 100% control, it's definitely dangerous. It's definitely dangerous, and people got to be self-aware about this, and especially about trying to give AI full control of people driving, deciding who can drive, who cannot drive. That's something that don't recommend. So that's gonna be in everybody's car in 2027. I don't think people are gonna be buying cars in 2027, but we'll pay attention and we'll see what it says. But another topic, yeah, Jay Z had an interview with Time Magazine, New York Times, not Time Magazine, New York Times. He had an interview. He kind of sparked a lot of interest when he was just telling people kind of his point of view of how I think he's just basically seeing like, hey, if you're at a certain age, you should be trying to act your age when it comes to music, or just going through what you're going through with music. Don't try to appeal to the younger audience. I mean, some people was like, "Oh, was he talking about Drake?" I don't think he was 100% talking about Drake. I think they say if the shoe fits, you wear it. But I mean, in his situation, I don't think that's not has nothing to. I don't think that really has to do with Drake, because Drake's a different type of artist. Unfortunately, he's a different type of artist when it comes to making music. When you make music for all type of genres, then you can tap into different audience. It doesn't have to be about an age group when it comes to that. So maybe the music Jay Z probably talking about, maybe, because I think he's definitely in a mode where he's making music and he's just like, yo, I'm not gonna make my music for the younger. If it relates to you, it relates to you. If it don't, it don't. Because his last album, obviously, everybody keeps talking about the 444 thing. He's even talked about it. His more deeper thoughts. He had to take time to sit there and think about what's going on in his life. So Jay Z's on a different level of music, and when he's making his music, but maybe he's just giving advice to other people, I guess, maybe in his probably era, or his probably timing when they were making music. I mean, it's like, hey, you that's his opinion. That's what Jay Z. If you want to take his advice, you take his advice. So it's a good interview. Where he definitely sees the inside of how he want to make music and how he made music, because let's all think about it. Jay Z was one of those definitely pioneers of music when it came to real, or relatable, or like just keeping what's going on with him. He didn't, do too many crazy stuff outside the box. It was like he told his story. I always talk about in rap and things like that. Growing up, I like to hear the stories, and that is definitely have different impact when you're making music. So he, that was his genre. He was always keeping it real. At the end of the day, he was telling his story and what he was going through at certain times in his music. So and he's obviously you gotta respect him because he makes timeless music. But I don't know if you I don't think he was talking deeply to Drake. Everything always got to be compared to Drake, but this is what he had to say.
Never fight against the future. Future's coming. Artists, they were trying to recreate something that was already done, but they're not connected to it like that. They're not living it and breathing it. They were fighting against gravity as opposed to telling their story. We needed that other side. We needed to hear about what happens when you've had 4 successful albums. What happens? What is that feeling like? How do you make the next one? How did you get in the studio? How are your kids? How do you interact with them as this hip hop dad? But if you're trying to make young music and you're not young, it's gonna be inauthentic, and people could feel that. You can smell it. So the best thing that anyone can do, like going through music, is to tell a story. I tell people, never fight.
I mean, yeah, I mean, you got to think about what he's saying. He's just saying, and that makes it easier too. I guess the timing change. People want to just, and I'm all for it. At the end of the day, if you have a body of work, I think you should hit different things in your body of work. There's different. You want to have the party. You want to have your story. You want to have feelings. You want to have what you're going through. Just put something all together that makes sense. You don't gotta really try to appeal to the audience. I mean, just do how you feel. If you feel like that's naturally how you feel and things like that, yeah. But don't just try to appeal to one crowd. No, don't do that. But if it fits you, if that's how you are and it fits you, yeah, make it have fun. Have fun, you know. Music is about having fun at the end of the day too. And you're touching on. Remember, his category is rap and hip hop. So there's different categories when it comes to pop, you know, R&B, rhythm like music, different, you know. But I guess, like I said, I think he's talking more for his group. So, but yeah, check out that interview when you get a chance. Since we are talking about some Jay Z, let's talk about New York, man. New York Knicks, man. Go New York. Go New York. No, you know they did what they had to do. They finally got over them Hawks. You know, just you know, they got them out the way. Even made history. You know, because now they're in the history books of basically having the most lead in halftime for playoffs history. You know, and they ended up blowing them out by more than 50. So, they did what they had to do, and they did it on the other team's court. So that's even more impressive. You know, but it was a team effort. You know, Bronson's still doing his thing, but OG's been stepping up, getting reliable plays at you know carrying shots and shots. Come on, man, these are the shots we need. You know, and the fact that Towns didn't have to do so much, but that, that's it's always a team effort. It's always a team effort, man. So we're gonna see. We're gonna see. So now it's gonna be a rival. We're back to a rival with Philadelphia. Philadelphia, they're playing. You know, they're playing good basketball. You know, they did what they had to do with when it came down to the Boston taking them out. So it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting, but I'm still gonna be biased, and so it's go New York, go New York, go New York. So yeah, we got it's gonna be definitely some good games coming out of us, you know. And then stat out all to the Lakers, man. The Lakers, you know, Lakers, boy. LeBron, I don't know where he getting all this energy. He's getting all this energy. He's still looking fresh, young out there, like you know, in 41 is still looking, still playing incredible, and then he's still got his son next to him, you know. So he's playing a different game, you know. But for them to get rid of Houston, definitely they didn't have a whole healthy team, you know. Kevin Durant didn't play, so I think that definitely factored it. But hats off to them, moving on to the next round. So we'll see who they have to play, but it looks like you know Dixie Cavaliers. You know, Cavaliers is gonna win that. So, but they gonna have what? They have the Mavericks. I mean, the Timberwolves and the Spurs. So that's gonna be a nice matchup too. So players looking good. Players is definitely looking good, and we'll keep on watching. You know, keep on watching. But talking about you know versus who versus what? They said the verses is back. You know, versus with Rick Ross and French Montana. You know, they got made seven. They going back to back hits again. You know, they both was on verses at one point, but see them two go out together. It's gonna be some. I think it's gonna be some hits. And they might as well do songs they did together because they got some tracks they always work together. So, but I think it's two different type of music when it comes to like a rapper and then just performance of hits. You know, French Montana got a bunch of hits. Ross, you know, he's definitely got some of his classic hits of him, you know, from being a rapper. So hey, we're gonna see what battle it out, you know, but who controls who comes are they gonna come in the battle, or are they gonna come in friendly, or are they coming in to play hits? Because French catalog is deep, man, because he got a lot of features, but we'll pay attention to see what that's gonna look like, you know. Sticking on music, you know, Chris Brown, he recently just dropped a video with Leon Thomas, and it looked like they put like a movie together. You know, let's see, Tank, he said, you know, doing the background on there, but he's basically on this new song called Fallin'. So that's a nice, you know, slow jam, feel like an old school vibe. You know, I think they're gonna still like that, you know. But I didn't even know he's releasing an album soon. You know, he got an album coming, so that's you know, Chris Brown definitely be in the lab. You know, I can see he's one of those type of artists. He's been in the lab. He always making music. So because he's like 20 some tracks again, he always put a bunch of tracks on his album, and just be like, hey, you guys pick from it. But it's funny how he did the cover. It looks like You know, it's kind of him laying down. You know, it has that Michael Jackson wall-to-wall feel. They're also comparing to show the Luther cover on there too. For Give Me the Reason. So it bring look like I have like an old school feel to the whole you know, to his classic. Maybe he's trying to say it's about to be a classic album too. The project he already released, you know, has actually been playing. You know, we had talked about the Bryson Taylor one, so he has tracks he already has gonna be on the album. So it's gonna be look like it's gonna be another project, another one to listen to. So I can't wait till you know, hear all that and hear the whole album. So I can't wait till that come out. Check that out soon. Calling it Brown. Brown, right? Yeah. Another album that actually did release was Kehlani. So the album is Kehlani. Everybody's calling it the same name. Yeah, I enjoyed her album. Her album was definitely dope. She has a bunch of good tracks on there. You know, right at the bat, with the Lil Wayne track, that was crazy. You know, fire, I like that. I like that. Also the one with Clips. That's kind of like a classic vibe sound. You know, also like feel to it, feel to it. You know, then they got the Grammy Award song, obviously Folded. That was always playing everything, and you know that just gave her our just due. I mean, it's overdue, you know, because she's very a great artist anyway. And then there's no reason why she wouldn't do a track with Brandy because she kind of like her twin, you know, kind of just sounds like Twinny. So that's definitely was tough. But I Need You with like that one. So also the what else we have there, the Missy joint. That was hard, you know. I like that one with she did with Missy, and then she had it on feature with Usher. So that was cool. And then she had a song called You Got It, you know, I like that too. So she got a bunch of joints, but even the one that I kind of just like the sleeper is one that still I think I need a video for that one, man. I need a whole video for it. I feel like that's a nice hit. It's a nice little hit there. So that'd be cool to see. Definitely cool to see. But yeah, hats off to Kehlani. Congratulations on all the success. Overdue. Or is this your time? Like you say, is your time, you know, racking up. So definitely you backed it up by just having a nice solid album and a solid project. So yeah, that's what's up. You know, hats off to you. But all right, so let's get into some motivation. Motivation. I need a motivation. All right, so this one says, a healthy attitude is the first step to achieving a healthy lifestyle. Yeah, man. I can't get mad at that. You know, I always say like this. Say some positive stuff. Just try to have a good, healthy attitude, and and hopefully that just triggers off to having a nice, healthy lifestyle. It's just eating the right things, exercising, and just keeping your mind right. And, you know, keeping your mind trying to be focused on what you need to be focused on. That's what I always think of when I think about healthy attitude. You know, it could be healthiness in different ways. So yeah. So that's what I got for everybody today. But yeah, thanks for joining for 99. Let's run with applause, man. That 100 is right around the corner. Ooh, 100s already. Everybody's doing 100s. But yeah, thanks, thanks for rocking with me, Bill. But definitely don't forget to subscribe, like, do all that good stuff. And man, check out all the stuff I got going. Don't forget, we still got what we got going out there. Still got to keep it real, definitely check out that video. What else we got? Savage, always talk about Savage, with Ty Styles. I always like that song still. What else? Skyrise. One I keep forgetting to mention always is Born to Fail. Yo, check out Born to Fail too. I like Born to Fail. I got a bunch of tracks, and I'm still trying to put everything together. But everything will come together when it's time, I guess. So, but in the meantime, between times, peace.
I love it. You guys are so great.